there's a way where you can use the prop to support yourself in a version of the pose which starts to change your mindset, which might have been, I can't do that. And then the prop, the use of the prop actually takes down that, or crumbles or dissolves that idea, that perceived limitation.
Or the fear.
The fear, definitely the fear. The fear is lessened, but also there are the limitations, which are fear-based often, that we've placed on ourselves about what we can and cannot do. And so I think the props give us the opportunity to think, how can I do that? Because there is a way. And the prop can help facilitate a new opening.
So Carrie, is Iyengar Yoga furniture yoga?
I don't see it like that. But I can understand why sometimes people have that idea. I think we use things because it's a wonderful, props, and they don't have to be special yoga props. It's like looking around your environment and saying, I have this ledge and I think I could put my foot up on that ledge, or I could lean my back over that ledge. And so we start to use our environment to facilitate opening in the body, to take support, to be able to bring intelligence to parts of our body that we might not normally access unless we're coming into relationship with another object.
I had heard that when Mr. Iyengar first started teaching, he would go to people's houses and he would physically put people into the poses. And so they would say, well, when you're not here, how can I do that myself? And that's kind of where the whole furniture yoga was born.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
the truth?
I think that's the legend. And but I think one of the things about props is we can use them. Sometimes they make the pose easier. Sometimes they don't make the pose easier. We might actually use the prop to put our body or mind in a context where we're actually we have to access an area that we might not normally access unless unless the prop was there. For instance, like today when we stood on a block, that changed a lot, especially changed the mind, because I think everybody was paying attention when they were standing up on a block. We normally stand on the ground. That's a familiar thing. It's very easy to become habitual, to bring that habitual mind, which isn't necessarily bad. I mean, habits can serve a purpose. But when we're attempting to wake up and really pay attention to things that we take for granted, like our ability to stand on one leg, that by using the prop, we're actually heightening our attention. Literally increasing our height, but heightening our attention.
But also increasing the wisdom of where we don't have understanding.
Yeah.
I know that for me, bending over a chair or something like that opens up parts of my body that I have no awareness.
Definitely, because we're bringing our body, there's something about, like today when we put the blocks into our buttocks, for instance. There are parts of the body where you might not realize that area is chronically tight or tense until there's some object that presses into your body and it's like, oh wow, that's a tender place. It's because it's just we're bringing ourselves into a different relationship with our body by using another object. It's like we learn about ourselves in relationship. We're in relationship with another being, and we learn about ourselves by interacting with another person.
So that would be the wisdom of props.
I think that props are, yes, the wisdom of props. I think props can do a lot of different things. One of the things, for instance, the chair, because I've been playing a lot with the chair lately, and it's a wonderful tool to bring a sense of possibility. I mean, people can, maybe they think I can never do an arm balancing pose, but there's a way where you can use the prop to support yourself in a version of the pose which starts to change your mindset, which might have been, I can't do that. And then the prop, the use of the prop actually takes down that, or crumbles or dissolves that idea, that perceived limitation.
Or the fear.
The fear, definitely the fear. The fear is lessened, but also there are the limitations, which are fear-based often, that we've placed on ourselves about what we can and cannot do. And so I think the props give us the opportunity to think, how can I do that? Because there is a way. And the prop can help facilitate a new opening, a new approach, or just to dissolve that limitation, that vritti, like we say yoga chitta vritti nirodha, right? Yoga is the stilling of the fluctuations of the mind. You can think of it too as it is the stilling of those limiting thoughts. And the prop is a great way to just shift the context enough where you are suddenly in a pose that you didn't think you would ever do. And that, and then there's a way to kind of transition away from using the prop, but first we have to believe that we can. Like, we have to sense possibility in ourselves.
Well, it could be as simple as using the wall for a balancing pose, just to give support so that you get the self-confidence.
Yes.
But then what happens when we get attached to the props and then we become addicted to the props and we don't let go of the props?
It's like everything, it's not black and white. There are the benefits, and then what often happens is we start to just do that one thing. And I think that, that for instance, if there's a back bend and you get used to back bending over the chair, that's a lovely,
like me,
lovely pose, right? Vipri Dandasana with the chair. But then we're not actually asking our body to become the chair for itself, to support itself in the asana. And it's very easy, I think, often we find, we'll go towards that path of least resistance and become, for lack of a better word, lazy. So Patanjali talks about laziness, and
the prop can make us dependent and make us lazy.
It can, and it can also wake us up, and it can also sharpen our intelligence. It depends how we're using it. What is our intention? How are we using this? And then to keep asking the question, how am I using this? Am I dependent on this prop now? And it might be that you have to use the prop. There might be a very, valid reason why you're going to continue to take that support. But to live that question is, why am I doing this? And if the prop has taught me something, is it possible then to see, okay, this is the gift of using this prop. Now, can I take that? How? That's the question. How can I do that with less support? So it doesn't mean it's like use the prop and don't use the prop, but there's a gradual process. A weaning, or just giving yourself the opportunity to do things differently, because I think it's very easy to get, we have our practices, we have these things we do, and there's something good about that. But then to continue to practice in a way where the deeper intention is to wake up and to, examine, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I just doing it because I did it yesterday?
Or because it felt really good yesterday?
Yeah. And so the props are just like anything, that it's neither good or bad, but it's how we're using it.
Well, tell us about your chair work.
Okay. Well, I am really fascinated with, there was a kind of a prop experiment that I did for a while where just for fun in my practice, I would design sometimes little games for myself, and where just to get out of certain habits or just to try to shake up my mind, really more than anything, I might impose a limitation, like a structure to my practice. And it could be something like, I'm only going to use 2 blocks, or 1 block and 1 belt. And let me see all these things that I can do. I want to take myself through a series of poses using only these things. So I played with the chair in that way. And that became, it was just having that frame. It's like, if you're writing a poem in iambic pentameter, you're going to have to use language in a certain way because the form is imposed on you. So the chair, I thought, let me play with the chair, because I was just using the chair in a few different ways, and I thought there's more possibility here. So it was a gradual process, inspired by some of the chair books that have come out recently, and then more than anything, I think there was one day where I was doing some twisting poses, and I started playing. That was this practice where I had decided I was going to use the chair, and I thought I just wanted to experience, like, use the chair for traction. I thought, let me think of all the different ways where I can use the chair for traction, to make space in my body. And in other practices, I would use the chair to help strengthen certain parts of my body or challenge my balance. And one time I was in Poland, at middle of the night. I had just arrived, and I had really bad jet lag, and my hosts had given me a hot pink yoga chair. So they it just happened to be painted hot pink, and I'm up, it's 3 a.m, and I'm thinking, I'm sort of sitting there, I'm thinking I should do some forward bends, I should do something that's relaxing, and but I was up, it's a different time zone. And the chair's sitting there, and it was 3 a.m, it was a pink chair. My state was altered enough that when I looked at the chair, I actually didn't see a chair. So I started playing with it. It just wasn't a chair, like a normal chair, for whatever reason, having jet lag, middle of the night, different country, very different chair. Pink chair. So I wanted to do some forward bends, so I started just playing with, I thought, I've been sitting on the plane, I wanted to relax a certain part of me, I wanted to stretch a certain part of me, I just was on the ground and started kind of experimenting with how I could enter into a relationship with this chair, the intention being, I want to release tension from my body, I want to bring about a state of relaxation, but I'm just not going to go from A to Z. There are all these different steps in between. So I just started playing with the chair, and it was so interesting how that interaction, there were things that came out of that particular practice that I don't know if they would have come about if I hadn't had, this perceived obstacle, jet lag and middle of the night. And so, but what it did really is open up the idea that we see objects and we see other people, or we might perceive ourselves in a very limited way. And that was just more than what I did with the chair, which was fun and relaxing. It actually did do what I hoped it would. But was that it's an exercise in perception, and it's very liberating to realize that our mind is so conditioned by previous experiences, and to exercise the capacity to see something with truly fresh eyes. Like, how do we do that? Mm-hmm. How do we see each other with really fresh eyes? I mean, I think that is something we can practice, to notice new things, actively notice new things. And, you look at blocks and you say, well, I've used them this way, but I'm going to practice using them differently. And that, just opens up a whole world into seeing possibility in our environment and in ourselves and in each other.
It's a very childlike way of looking at the world, and it just seems like, I remember seeing Mr. Iyengar, that he had this twinkle of like a little bit of a child, looking around, seeing, what are we going to play today, almost.
Yes.
And you have that twinkle in your eye, like you're looking around and looking at props like toys. Like, what are we going to play today? That's really cool.
I mean, I think kids do that naturally. Mm-hmm. And we grow out of it, but I think more than anything, we're conditioned in a way not to give that aspect of ourselves permission to explore and to play. And so it's something I think that we can actually practice. and it's very enlivening. I mean, it really just, I think it keeps us curious, open and curious, and excited about, like, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do in the practice? Or you walk into a room with students and, like, what are they going to present that is going to challenge me as a teacher, and where we can kind of come together and discover new things together, because that person is unique. I mean, they may be they may be like other people, but they're still very unique, and every interaction has potential to kind of change our mind, really. We change each other. We literally change each other if we give ourselves the opportunity to really go, notice those new things. So, yeah, Guruji definitely did that.
He taught us to play.
He played, and I think I think it's something that, that as we grow up, it is, it's something that many people lose, that capacity. I don't know they really lose the capacity to play, but they just, life is busy, and we all have stressors and things to do, and have to have a certain, persona or mode of behavior. And I think it affects our perception. It affects the way we see ourselves and we see each other. And play is, I just think it's a way. I think play is like a Tao, the Tao of play.
Maybe our inner child is seeking this play, and that's why there's so many people getting into yoga, because this is like a safe place where we can play and move our bodies like we used to as children, and it's okay.
Yes, because it is, children, that's the way they learn, but that's the way people learn, animals learn, everyone learns, but through play. This isn't unique to the human species, and it's not unique to children. So it's very unfortunate when we grow out of that, because we can actively learn new things to the end of our days. And, because Iyengar is a great example, like, he was still curious and open and learning. And to me, like, when I think of what, with yoga, what do I aspire towards? I would love to, in whatever age however old I'll be when I die, that I'm playing to the end. Like, I would love to be learning new things. There's no greater joy than discovery and surprise and wonder, awe and wonder, and that is something that is cultivated. I don't know that it's, it might be natural with some people, but I think we can give ourselves that opportunity to continue to cultivate play in our lives.
Thank you for having us play. Thank you for playing with us today.
Yes. We start to just do that one thing, and I think that, that, for instance, if there's a back bend and you get used to back bending over the chair, that's a lovely pose, right? Viparita Dandasana with the chair. But then we're not actually asking our body to become the chair for itself, to support itself in the asana. And it's very easy, I think, often we find, we'll go towards that path of least resistance and become, for lack of a better word, lazy. So Patanjali talks about laziness, and
the prop can make us dependent and make us lazy.
It can, and it can also wake us up, and it can also sharpen our intelligence. It depends how we're using it. What is our intention? How are we using this? And then to keep asking the question, how am I using this?